For months, investigators have been focused on an unusual car theft case out of Sarpy County. It involved at least one suspect returning to the scene of the crime to steal even more.
Mike McKnight shows us how technology and determined detectives cracked the case.
A totaled vehicle doesn't mean totally won't run, so the insurance auto auction near Springfield has been the target of multiple thefts.
They're using vehicles that they're taking to actually drive through the fence in order to drive the other cars through there as well.
A dozen or more vehicles have been stolen in recent months, usually driven across surrounding farm fields to alleys and garages in parts of Omaha.
A lot of the vehicles that they're taking have some pretty decent monetary value as far as breaking down different parts of the vehicle and essentially what most people call like chopping up the car.
Bulletins to be on the lookout led several agencies to recover many of the stolen vehicles. So a Douglas County crime scene investigator is called in to gather evidence from trace DNA to fingerprints. Rooting around in all this trash left behind, look what we see. That's an electrical bill, and there's a name on it. Prints can be lifted from the envelope and used to find matches with any collected from various recovered stolen vehicles.
Porous items like paper and cardboard, those are also fairly easy surfaces to get prints from because we'll use a chemical reagent.
Douglas County Crime Lab latent fingerprint examiner Josh Connolly says prints are put into a database that searches for anyone who has been printed before.
So we'll encode that print, we'll launch it, do its search, and then it gives us the 30 top closest matches. It's still always going to be up to an examiner to actually confirm, yes, that's that person.
But solving this serial auto theft case also required stakeouts, with a Sarpy County investigator working the graveyard shift. That surveillance led to identification of a suspect.
It's incredibly unusual for a suspect to return to one location over multiple months, multiple days, and steal multiple cars.
41-year-old Dallas Waters Sr. has been arrested in connection with the thefts of multiple vehicles from the insurance auto auction. Sarpy County warrant deputies took Waters into custody at an Omaha house after finding him in the attic. Back at the insurance auto auction, to prevent more breakout thefts, reinforcements have been brought in. On your side in Sarpy County, Mike McKnight, 6 News.
The suspect, Dallas Waters Sr., faces numerous charges for the vehicle thefts, and the investigation continues into identifying accomplices. The manager of the insurance auto auction declined comment on the case.